Okay, let's take a look at money matters now. The rand edged higher against the dollar early this morning, but has since weakened slightly. The currency traded at around 18.77 against the dollar, about 0.21% stronger than its previous close. Matete Thulare is head of foreign exchange execution at Rand Merchant Bank. He joins us now for a wrap of the latest market moves. Thank you very much for your time this afternoon. So the rand is seemingly muted now. What's driving weakness?
Good afternoon, Dudu. Look, the rand trading stronger on the day after the release of the US CPI numbers that we had yesterday for August. They came in pretty much in line with expectations, which in turn allows the Fed to hold off from another rate hike at their next meeting next week. Now, across the board, emerging market currencies have all benefited from the weaker dollar, and most of our peers gained, yesterday post the US data. The Fed, though, is still pricing in one more rate hike for the rest of the year. And also in Asia and also in our local session this morning, we've seen the dollar trading in very tight ranges, especially ahead of the ECB interest rate decision later this afternoon. Now, the bets are that the central bank in Europe will raise interest rates again after comments earlier in the week saying that inflation is expected to remain above the 3% for the rest of the year as going into 2024. So that said, the rand is still trading below 19, and obviously we are looking for the ECB interest rate decision in the next 2 hours.
Mining production decreased by 3.6% year-on-year in July 2023. Talk us through this data and the drags on growth and what it tells us about the health of the economy.
So quite an interesting set of data that was released earlier. I mean, already gold production rising 12.9% year-on-year in July versus the 28.5% in June. But as you say, the overall mining production number, that fell by 3.6% year-on-year versus the revised 1.3% that we saw in June. Now, this is expected as industries implementing measures such as electricity self-generation to obviously mitigate the impact of load shedding, which should support recovery in output over the medium term. It's not going to be seen at this point in time. I mean, already the prices of a lot of the majority of the export commodities has slowed down amid the slowing global growth. Factors such as also the load shedding that we're seeing, the transport and logistical challenges at Transnet are also having an impact on that, as well as the elevated input costs, which will obviously heavily impact the production and export volumes, which is why you're seeing the numbers coming out the way they are.
Sugar producer Tongaat Hewlett's business rescue plans will now be released by the end of October after creditors voted for the publication date to be extended from the end of September. Help us make sense of the developments.
So look, I mean, Tongaat Hewlett's future, I mean, that continues to hang in the balance, to be honest, following the release of the amended business rescue plan, and also there's been delays there. Now, it is a South African 130-year-old company that has been placed in administration after failing to recover from the accounting scandal that they had earlier. Now, attempts by their business rescue practitioners to right the debt-stricken sugar producer to have, hit a brick wall at this point in time. They have proposed rights issues. There's also been questions last month raised about the role that the IDC has played in this whole rescue scheme. The IDC obviously advancing financing to Tongaat Hewlett under this business rescue plan to sustain their operations. Now, the extension that we've seen, that will allow for more information on the sale to be in the main plan that's going to be released in the next few weeks, and then by then voting by creditors to approve the plan and also make the sale a more informed process. Now, as such, business rescue plans have to be produced within 30 days of the business rescue. But according to the Companies Act, extensions are a common theme due to the complexity of the process. So what we're seeing here is not something that is uncommon, but I suppose over the next few weeks, we should have more clarity on the business going forward.
British American Tobacco has now completed the sale of Russian and Belarusian businesses. What happens now?
So they announced that they're going to sell their businesses in Belarus and in Russia, obviously on the back of the geopolitical tension out in Eastern Europe. Now remember, British American Tobacco, they're headquartered in London and they're the second largest tobacco company in the world, and they also hold about a quarter of the Russian market. Now, they're also the makers of Camel and Peter Stuyvesant. They did not provide a figure on the sale, but they announced their intentions to exit Russia and Belarus already in March 2022. Now, this follows a wave of disinvestment from a lot of Western companies in the Eastern Europe side of things. But now, also remember that British American Tobacco's operations in Russia include a head office in Moscow and also about 75 regional offices and also a manufacturing facility in the capital of St. Petersburg. Now, post the completion and the sale, the business will now be known as the ITMS Group. And also on the back of that, one of the conditions that have been satisfied, the buyers have said that they're going to be leading this, takeover. And at that point in time, it's going to be actually the British American Tobacco Russian management team that will be leading this consortium. And they'll own both the businesses in Russia and Belarus. And obviously, I think it will be the start of a new era for them.
Stellantis has announced that it will build the Peugeot Landtrack Bakkie for the local market and export at a new factory to be built in South Africa in a R3 billion investment. Talk us through those developments.
So quite an interesting set of good news for South Africa. I mean, already we're going to establish a new vehicle manufacturing factory in PE, and this is in collaboration with the Department of Trade and Industry and Competition as well as the IDC. Now, Stellantis, remember, they're the owners of brands such as Alfa Romeo, Chrysler, and Jeep, and they had signed the Memorandum of Understanding with our local government already in March this year. Now, the project was approved yesterday in a meeting that was attended by Stellantis Middle East Chief Operating Officer together with our Minister Ibrahim Patel as well as IDC officials. Now, if you remember that support for government incentives in the automotive industry, that is accounting for about close to 5% of our local GDP, and already that's about 12% of exports just last year. Now, I think that sector of the economy, that already also employs about 110,000 people. Now, the Stellantis factory will be located in the special economic zone in PE, where obviously you have the likes of Mercedes-Benz, Volkswagen, Ford. They have plants there as well. And this is aiming to at least be completed by the end of 2024 and potential to manufacture about 90,000 units annually. So at this point in time, I think it's another great offset news for the local economy.
Thank you very much to the head of foreign exchange execution at Rand Merchant Bank.